Hello, everyone. I'm Janine Naus, your grief and trauma relief specialist, and I'm really glad you're here with me today. And whether you're joining live or watching the replay, I want to start by naming something many capable, thoughtful, high-functioning people struggle with and often don't talk about out loud. It's second-guessing yourself. Not in a small way, but in a way that slows decisions, creates mental loops, and leaves you wondering why things that used to be straightforward now feel draining. And you might be someone others rely on, and you might handle a lot. You might even be very aware of what you're doing. And yet internally, you may find yourself asking, why can't I trust my own judgment anymore? Or why do I keep going back and forth? Or why does deciding feel heavier than it should? Now, if that feels familiar, I want to say this clearly from the start. This is not a confidence problem, and it's not a personal failure. So today, I want to help you understand why second guessing shows up, what it's protecting you from, and how clarity can begin returning without pushing or forcing yourself. And to do that, we first need to look at what second guessing actually is and what it isn't. So now that we've named second guessing, I want to gently reframe what's actually happening. See, most people assume second guessing really means they lack confidence. But for trauma survivors, especially those who are capable and high functioning, that's usually not the case. Second guessing is often a safety strategy, not a self-esteem issue. And when someone has lived through experiences where their perceptions were questioned, their reactions were minimized, or their decisions led to outcomes they couldn't control, the nervous system learned something very specific. It's safer not to be certain. So instead of trusting an internal signal, the body shifts into checking mode, reevaluating, replaying, looking for more information, looking for reassurance. Not because you're unsure, but because uncertainty once came with risk. And this is important to understand. You didn't choose this pattern, your system learned it. And at one point, second guessing helped you stay safe. It slowed things down. It reduced exposure. It gave you time to assess. The problem is that what once protected you now quietly drains your energy. Decisions take longer. Mental bandwidth gets consumed. And self-trust starts to feel, well, distant. Not because it's gone, but because it's being overridden by protection. And that brings us to the next layer, why this pattern tends to interrupt decisions right when they're forming. So once you understand that second guessing is a protection strategy, the next piece starts to make a lot more sense. Many trauma survivors don't struggle with starting decisions, they struggle with finishing them. You might notice this pattern. You lean toward an option, and it feels right at first, and there's a sense of clarity, even relief. And then somewhere in the middle of committing to it, something shifts. Doubt appears. Your mind reopens the question. You start thinking, what if I'm wrong? What if there's something I'm missing? What if this creates a problem I can't undo? And that moment isn't random. Trauma teaches the body to pause at points of commitment because in the past, commitment may have led to loss, conflict, or harm. So your system learned, don't lock this in too quickly, stay flexible, keep scanning. And this is what I mean by interrupted decision completion. The decision process gets stalled, not because you lack clarity, but because your nervous system is trying to prevent risk. And this is why logic alone doesn't fix second guessing. And you can have all the information, you can think things through carefully, and you can even know what you want. But when the body senses commitment, protection kicks in. That's also why reassurance from others may help temporarily, but doesn't create lasting relief. The interruption isn't happening in the thinking part of you, it's happening in the safety seeking part. And this is where compassion matters. Nothing is wrong with you. Your system is doing exactly what it learned to do. And the shift happens when we stop trying to force certainty and instead help the body feel safe enough to complete decisions again. And that leads us to the most important piece, how self-trust actually rebuilds. So once you see that second guessing isn't a flaw and that decision making gets interrupted at the point of commitment, the next question becomes, how do I rebuild self-trust without pushing myself? And this is where many well-intentioned people go in the wrong direction. They try to override hesitation. They tell themselves to just decide. They push through discomfort and hope confidence will follow. But self-trust doesn't come from forcing certainty. It comes from felt safety. Your nervous system has to learn something new. I can make a decision and remain safe in my body. That learning doesn't happen through pressure, it happens through regulation, which simply means your body staying steady enough to be present while you decide. And this might look like slowing down the decision moment, noticing when tension shows up, pausing instead of pushing through it, and allowing your body to settle before you lock something in. Not to avoid decisions, but to complete them without triggering protection. When your system experiences that decisions can be made without negative consequences or self-abandonment, self-trust begins to return naturally. Not all at once, but steadily. This is why rebuilding self-trust is not about confidence training. It's about helping your nervous system feel safe enough to stay present through commitment. And once that begins to happen, second guessing doesn't disappear overnight, but it loosens its grip. You stop fighting yourself. You start listening differently. And that brings us to how to close today's conversation without rushing and without pressure. So if second guessing has been showing up in your life lately, slowing decisions, draining your energy, or quietly eroding your confidence, I want you to hear this clearly. This isn't a flaw in you. It's a learned pattern that once helped you stay safe. And patterns like this don't change through force. They change through understanding and regulation. I want to thank you for joining me in today's Healing Step session and for taking a few minutes to explore something that affects daily life far more than most people realize. If this conversation brought recognition or helped you see your hesitation in a new way, that awareness alone is meaningful. And if you'd like a calm, private space to untangle this pattern further, I offer healing clarity sessions. They're gentle, one-on-one conversations. They're not therapy. I'm a life coach, not a therapist, and there's no diagnosing, evaluating, or fixing involved. It's simply a space to understand what's interrupting self-trust and regain clarity in one specific area of your life. There's a space to understand what's interrupting self-trust and to regain clarity in one specific area of your life. No pressure, no obligation, just a conversation when you feel you're ready. And whether you take that step or simply leave today with more compassion for yourself, both matter. Self-trust doesn't return by demanding certainty. It returns when safety is restored. I want to thank you for being here with me today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.